Welcome, Legend of Zelda Rando fans. My name is Vitasia, and I'm joined here with Kevin856. Kevin, how are you doing this afternoon?
I'm doing great. And today we have a randomizer race between our two runners, Sinhe and Suikoboj. We've got a bit of a late start on the restream, so they have a few items already. We see the lamp, the cape, the bottle, and the ice rod have already been found.
Yep. And as we're joining in, Suikoboj is going into Mini Moldorm Cave right now. As Kevin said, we're just getting started and still seeing some early routing going on from both of these individuals. Sinhe is going through Eastern right at the moment, while Suikoboj still looks like he's going over some overworld locations.
And it looked like Sinhe has a fighter sword, while Suikoboj had to deal with a mini Moldorm cave with bombs, so if I had to guess, I'd say Suikoboj doesn't have that sword, so that's an early advantage for Sinhe.
Yep, both of these runners are currently winless in their Group C matches. Suikoboj is at 0-2, and Sinhe is at 0-1. So interesting to see if we'll be able to see Suikoboj do some maybe more risky strats, hoping for a higher reward in the stream as we get going here. Suikoboj is checking Ice Rod Cave for the bug net.
Bug net, never a bad item to find. Safety items are always nice, but of course, it's never exactly what they're looking for.
Swagnahem strats required, I always say. Both runners did seem to get Lamp early. We don't exactly know where they got Lamp, but that unlocks quite a bit in Eastern Palace, for example, and all of the other dark rooms. So not having to worry about any dark rooms anywhere so far.
We see Sinhe finishing up Eastern. We don't know if any of the early chests paid off, but nothing so far from these later chests, so it looks like that perhaps an Eastern gamble was not the way to go this time.
Well, there's 3 items that you can get in Eastern, so and only one of them is locked behind, not behind needing the bow and lantern. So usually it's a pretty good early game start, unless you can route that in together with Pod in later game.
Suikoboj checking Agnes Cave, pretty out of the way, so there's a possibility that they don't have many options left, and that this seed started to troll them early on.
We do see some pretty early discrepancies between their items, though. For example, Sinhe looks like he's already got the ice rod and the sword. Meanwhile, Suikoboj has the cape and a bottle. So there was clearly some pretty early route divergence, but that probably means that they're both going to start running over each other's routes here directly. So we may get a hint on where everything was.
I believe when we were setting up, I saw that Sinhe picked up the ice rod in the back end of the sewers, and also that Suikoboj had the cane of Burna also. So
we see a shield that's going to be in the race. I don't think either of these runners are going to go out of their way to go and get that shield later. We see Suikoboj on his way to Eastern now, going to see the volumes of value that Sinhe found earlier.
And now, with a cape and a fighter sword in hand, we don't know if Sinhe has the cape or not, but it's possible that this could be an early Aghanim seed.
It's not outside the realm of possibility if there's going to be something really valuable on Pyramid. Won't be able to do much of anything without the Moon Pearl or the Mirror once he gets over there, but it'll be interesting to see. Yep, and that's the play he's going for, early Aghanim.
So we'll see how this pays off. And it makes us wonder what kind of limitations the seed has already placed on our runners that it's forcing, or at least Sinhe thinks it's forced, an early Aghanim.
Early Aghanim seeds I haven't seen a whole lot of those. Usually in this tournament so far, we've seen quite a bit of value before and not needing a whole lot. Sinhe's going through these ball and chain guys with spin strats. It takes care of them relatively quickly, all things considered.
And additionally, more interesting is that they don't appear to have a Moon Pearl, making this Aghanim strat even more risky, should not pay off.
Well, it'll at least unlock the Dark World if they ever find the Moon Pearl, but we're going under the assumption at this point that they've checked a lot of the other areas. So Suikoboj has already unlocked that, so it looks like maybe this is their second time already diving in.
Perhaps he dived in but was uncomfortable with lampless strats. That could be an advantage for Sinhe, or, well, could have been. They both have a lamp.
They both have the lamp, and neither of them have the bow, so there's no reason to go in much further than that. But Suikoboj picking up the big key, and we already know from Sinhe that only a map that's left in the big chest, so not gonna be a little bit disappointed here.
Assuming that they both item counted correctly, that means the Armos Knights would have the last item.
And we haven't had a map check halfway since coming in.
I don't believe we have, so we have no idea if Eastern is a crystal or pendant.
Looks like Suikoboj might be making his way up to Aghanim as well, at least towards Escape. We'll see if he routes towards Aghanim or towards the basement of Escape.
I don't know if Suiko has a sword yet, though, so he might be doing the front end of the Escape. That might be where the sword was.
And you're absolutely right. Suikoboj is on his way there.
Interesting to speculate if either of our runners decided to do a quick fake flipper to check Lake Hylia and the hobo. And there's the sword.
Just in time. I'm sure he was getting a little bit worried how he'd get there. He had his bombs out and ready to go, but luckily the sword's there to save him.
Meanwhile, Sinhe is coming up on the Aghanim fight. Hopefully we'll have as few blue balls as possible.
Everyone hates blue balls. There's absolutely no reason for blue balls. Can't we agree?
Well, they do provide a little bit of humor sometimes if you get them in excessive amounts.
Responding, Clown Kefka Ice Rod was in the back half of Escape. Yep, and there's a lot of speculation that we're doing. We're just kind of jumping at it, hoping we know what's right, based on our knowledge of the game as well. Both runners seem to be doing relatively well for the first 20 or so minutes. They both have a sword. There's at least a couple items that are unlocked. Lamp is a big one. I'm seeing Sinhe does have Moon Pearl though.
Who knows where he picked that up? But if he does have Moon Pearl, that does make this Aghanim play a lot more plausible and likely to pay off.
Right you are. Going into Aghanim for only the pyramid is generally a low percentage play, and you only want to do it if there's absolutely nowhere else you can go. But having the Moon Pearl means you can at least take a dip over into maybe Pod to see what else you can find.
And of course, Catfish item is always another possibility, and even more strangely, no, Catfish is still blocked by Power Gloves, never mind.
And Sinhe makes quick work of Aghanim. Very nice Aghanim run, only a few blue balls. Let's see what we have on the pyramid here. It does look like a healthy seed for it being relatively early. We have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 hearts on Suikoboj and just a few under that. And Power Glove.
Those gloves are huge, and also all 3 pendants are in the Dark World.
Yep, green was in Thieves, and 5 looked like it was down in Myers, so 6 is somewhere in the Light World.
So it looks like our runners will be going back to Eastern once they get the bow, probably comboing it with Pod.
Not a bad idea. They've already cleaned out Eastern, but Sinhe is going to go ahead and go right for Pod. There's a high likelihood of a decent item here anyway.
Then again, it's also possible that we are bow-locked immediately.
That would be really kind of a depressing sight if it were. With the Power Glove that you got, though, it does open up, because you have the Power Glove and the Lamp, this would be the first chance to go up to Death Mountain as well.
However, with so few items, no mirror, no hookshot, no hammer, they can only check the Old Man and the one inside Spectacle Rock, so it's not necessarily the best option.
Yeah, I think that's why Sinhe decided to come here first, just because there's a likelihood of more items to possibly check here. And Suikoboj looks like he's doing back half, and he's going to pick up his Ice Rod. Oh!
Mirror! That mirror is actually pretty huge, because that opens up the Tower of Hera for both our runners. With the lamp, they can fully complete it, too.
Yep, but that means, because we did see Sinhe at least go down there, we didn't see what they picked up, so Sinhe is actually doing very well in terms of inventory management and not having to go into their menus that frequently. We didn't even know they had the mirror.
Mirror
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Thanks. Mirror, of course, also makes doing Palace of Darkness a lot easier and a lot better without having to do death orbs such as at the big chest and at the...
And a fall for Sinhe. It's also a little bit riskier, because if you don't get the bow, normally you want to loop these two together with the bow instead of coming in and double dipping, but without the bow you won't be able to complete either of these dungeons, so it's just a quick check here.
Firebird 12, we don't know where the Moon Pearl was. We started this a little bit late, so we don't know where certain things are. But we find Sinhe getting the Master Sword in Pod, so that'll help a little bit.
And Adirondack Rick makes a good point. Because this started before we were seeing what was going on, it's entirely possible that Lumberjack may be required, which prompted them to go there early.
That is a possibility, although we won't know for sure until we find Boots.
I'll say from personal experience, I would be ecstatic to find Lamp early. I know there was the one qualifier I was able to do had a late Lamp, and it absolutely destroyed me not being able to go into some areas.
Although, if it is a Lumberjack seed, it's not the worst Lumberjack, because it looks like this was their only way into the Dark World anyway.
Absolutely. The Power Glove was on the pyramid, so they really didn't have many other options to get there at all.
If I had to guess, I'd say Sinhe is probably going to mirror and head for the Hera right away. Do that dark light Death Mountain stuff while he can.
Yep, and as you said earlier, it may only be 2 items as possible, but those 2 items could really unlock a lot depending on what they come up with. If there's the hookshot or hammer, for example, well, even with the mirror, then they can go ahead and get Hera.
Exactly, and we know that Hera is a crystal dungeon. It might be Crystal 6, we don't know. So that is something they can get out of the way, and that's always a good thing to do.
Oh, and Sinhe is actually going up to check Lumberjack, so this may be the first time that we're seeing if Lumberjack is required, at least for Sinhe.
looked like it was just a piece of heart.
Just a little love. Low rupee counts for both of these players, so neither of them will be able to check Zora quite yet, if they haven't already.
If they knew how to do the Houlihan room, that's another 225 rupees that they could get, although if I had to guess, I'd say neither of them have done so.
Sinhe making his way through and getting the old man. Meanwhile, Suikoboj is just about coming up on Aghanim.
Of course, with a race this early, it looks like Suikoboj has a little bit of is behind a little bit. However, if he makes a gamble such as a catfish and it pays off with perhaps the hammer hookshot, he could combo Hera with all of East Death Mountain as well. So it really could go either way this early on.
Also, Suikoboj has the bug net. Can we see some Swagnaham strats?
We can hope.
Just some blue rupees up on Spectacle Rock Cliff, and just a full heart container there.
But again, we still have the Tower of Hera to do, and that's a crystal dungeon, so it's always a good idea to get those out of the way.
And with the lamp, that's a fire source, they'll be able to do the basement if that ends up being required.
A good item that they might find in here is actually the book, because they could, with the Master Sword, Sinhe could check the Ether Tablet, as well as Power Glove's lamp. They could go and finish Desert, which is another crystal dungeon.
That would be a good play, although I usually see runners anymore trying to loop Desert in with Mire when they head that direction. And since Mire is required this time.
Yes, but that isn't always possible. Although it looks like the basement might be required. Or not.
Sinhe is making his way up top using I've not seen a whole lot of people be able to clear this room quite as quickly since this tournament, but ever since a few runs, everyone's been doing the same strat, so everyone seems to be learning as this tournament goes on, which is always excellent news. Love to see the level of play increase as the tournament goes on.
And we see Suikoboj getting the map check, finding which ones are pendants. Picking up
the bow. Sinhe picks up the bow in Tower of Hera. That'll be big. That
is huge. And looked like Suikoboj might be heading up to check Catfish, so this could be huge if it pays off for him.
Yep, with Power Glove. Again, we saw that Suikoboj is 0-2 in the tournament, so we will likely see some more risky strats from them trying to get that win and prevent elimination. 0-3 would be awfully hard to recover from. Sinhe's getting ready for Trolldorm. Tell me, Kevin, is it just me, or has Trolldorm been extra trolly? And there's Sinhe falling. Trolldorm has knocked a lot of really solid competitors off this tournament.
I can definitely agree to that. Trolldorm has been significantly trollier lately. I guess he's out for revenge.
He's upset that we keep calling him Trolldorm. It's gotta be that.
So with our current pendant dungeons, it's not that many items until they have access to the pedestal. They need flippers, hookshot, and fire rod. And so that could leave a couple of items on the pedestal, such as Samaria or even the Titan's Mitts, depending on where the other items are.
Yep, and Sinhe's getting his first crystal. and will probably make his way over to the east side of Death Mountain now. Oh, well, no, he won't be able to because he doesn't have the hammer or the hook shot.
Suikoboj is not entering pod and looks like he's going right for Death Mountain, so that'll actually be good for him that he didn't double dip Palace of Darkness.
Yep, I don't remember there being too much of value in pod early, so this will be a time saver for Suikoboj and be able to make up a little bit of time here, getting the bow slightly earlier than Sinhe did. But Sinhe's on his way over to Eastern right now.
Although, without the hammer, neither of our runners will be able to finish pod, but of course, they can finish Eastern, which Armos Knights are blocking one item. And this is likely the progression item, unless it's stuck on the bow side of pod.
Yep. So, chat, let's go ahead, since we know that there's going to be at least one item that's going to be held by the Knights. What item do you guys want to be there? And no red ruby counts, because that would be boring. Let's see some creativity here.
I'm either hoping for something that'll lead to a pedestal, or something that'll lead to an early T-Rock. Those are always the two trolls that I look forward to.
I'm going to say whatever pendant is going to be required to get into T-Rock. Isn't T-Rock, though, a pendant dungeon, so even if something is there, it's extra troll?
T-Rock is a crystal. Our three pendants are Skull Woods, Swamp Palace, and Thieves Town. Thieves Town being green.
Swamp, that's an interesting location for a pendant.
A hookshot would be real nice because it would kind of create a divide that would have access to both East Death Mountain and West Dark World. Coming in from the Catfish side, they could hookshot across, and we might see a bit of a route divergence.
Zertanul just said in chat, hookshot behind Ice Armos. You're an evil man, Mr. Grinch. And I don't know if that's even possible because you actually have to use the hookshot to get through that portion of it.
Not necessarily. If you go in from the right side, you could bonk.
You could bonk, but it wouldn't... Oh, is Ice Armos on the right side? It's been so long since I've actually done a right side siege.
Ice Armos are both on the left and the right. They converge at Bob.
Oh, right. That's right.
We saw Suikoboj collecting that extra heart container in a Spectacle Rock, despite it being out of the way, so perhaps he's a less experienced runner and needs more safeties. Perhaps he just wants to be extra safe. That could give Sinhe an advantage if Suikoboj isn't as confident with the riskier strategies.
Oh, and Sinhe gets the crystal, but only gets bombs. That was not worth right there.
So it looks like Palace of Darkness, the right side, is where the next progression item is.
Quick save and quit here by Sinhe. Suikoboj working his way, hoping to get that value here real soon from getting that bow at the top of Kara. And Sinhe showing one of the advantages of getting Ice Armos early or getting Aghanim early. I'm sorry, I'm reading chat at the same time. Being able to have that easy Dark World access right in the middle of the map.
And of course, we could see something absolutely absurd like the hammer being in Fat Fairy, with Aghanim already dead, and Crystal's 5 and 6 being Mire and a Light World pendant. Fat Fairy is technically possible to get without the hammer.
Putting that together, that would be absolutely crazy. I've seen, Fat Fairy has been kind of a mixed bag, not always value, but there has been a few items that are great there recently.
And the chat does point out correctly that Zora is another option with the power gloves, so that could be where our progression is too. The bow could perhaps be a wild goose chase.
Possibly. If we have to go up to Zora, keep in mind that Sinhe is looking a whole lot better in that regard with 414 rupees to Suikoboj 169. If that's the case, not knowing Houlihan Room is going to cost both of these, but not Sinhe. He's going to be able to pull ahead if there's value up at Zora right at the moment.
Yeah, it'll take fortunately, they do have the gloves, so they will be able to do a little bit of grinding at the cave near the desert.
Sinhe making his way through that mimic cave.
Oh, and Suikoboj taking the middle hold fall on Trolldorm's just one hit left. That's gotta hurt.
It's not fun, but both competitors fell to Trolldorm, so Trolldorm 2, troll harder.
And Sinhe picking up the hook shot on the right side of Pod. So that's exactly what we were hoping for. That offers two possible places to go. So we could see some route divergence once Suikoboj gets that.
Well, and we're seeing Sinhe's going to go ahead and clear out the rest of Pod while he's still here. Not necessarily a bad move, but there's so much value in East Death Mountain, I would be hard-pressed to not head up there as soon as he gets out of this place. Oh! It's gotta be Kane!
Now that is a very good item to have and reduces another possibility from the pedestal. Of course, with Samaria, that does lead more towards the possibility of a hammer at a Fat Fairy, because now they can do Mire. Well, one of the items to do Mire.
Yeah, pedestal hype is slowly dying, but Sinhe finding all the value in Pod. Shout out to Ryu for giving us what is possibly the best meme out of the community so far with the Kane call.
Sinhe checking all these other key locations, but unfortunately due to how key routing and Mire works, that chest was guaranteed to be a small key. Key routing in Pod, not Mire.
And Sinhe does a quick save quit. Probably going to be heading up to, yep, we're going to Death Mountain.
Of course, if this doesn't pay off and Suikoboj goes for the West Dark World, that could give him a significant advantage if he decides to do the rest of East Death Mountain once he gets the Titan's Mitts, to do Dark Death Mountain with it.
Oh, that'd be nice if we can find that. There's a lot of items that lock behind the hook shot, so we'll be able to see, hopefully, quite a bit of value paying off here for Sinhe. The seed is starting to open up for him.
And Suikoboj using the cape strats to ensure he doesn't get knocked off by Trolldorm again. And he's going to pick up his compass and finish off Hera.
Meanwhile, let's see what's in our lower two chests here for Sinhe. Red rupees and a little bit of love.
I haven't seen Paradox Cave paying off much lately.
We haven't, but I think that a lot of that depends on the logic. When you have hookshot that's locked behind things like the bow, I mean, depending on how early you get hookshot, the more value this should theoretically hold. And we have mushroom for a fetch quest. The validation arrow, run validated.
And of course, a little bit more money. Well, a bit more money, and that'll help if Zora is required.
And getting that mushroom, you'll be able to route checking the mushroom in with Zora. So that might be the next move that Sinhe ends up making. Meanwhile, Suikoboj with the bow on his way over to Eastern.
Not necessarily a wise routing decision, since he has the mirror. It would be wiser to head up to the Dark World, check Pod, and then mirror from there to check Eastern if it is required.
Yep, that might be the smarter play, even doubly so since we know that the Knights don't have anything of value, just some bombs there. Just some rupees up on Floating Island, and we're going to check Spiral Cave here with Sinhe.
Although with Samaria and the Mushroom, it is possible to do a recently discovered glitch to check the Magic Bat without the powder. You use all of your magic, and then you use the cane, and then quickly switch to the Mushroom and use that. And for some reason, that triggers the powder to be used.
It does. Is that considered a minor glitch that is allowed?
Yes, that is a minor glitch. Of course, it is obviously a sequence break in the logic, but if there is a very small chance that it might pay off tremendously if powder is in some really trolly pendant dungeon.
Oh, and it looks like we're seeing Sinhe actually make the play on Desert. Or no, he's fake flippering.
This is an unusual decision, but looks like he's going to fake flipper up to the witch area to get there and check the mushroom, not doing the powderless, but I don't blame him. It's significantly out of the way, and he actually can't with no hammer.
Yeah, so that's a perfectly fine decision, and actually one of the smarter ones. Knowing where these portals end up going makes all the difference if you need to go somewhere. Sinhe, this was not a standard teleport through that's usually done, so kudos to him. And we have some code red.
Just a bottle from the witch, but he didn't actually go and check Zora, which is interesting, because we saw Suikoboj collecting some money from Eastern Palace, so it's possible that he was thinking of Zora, and that's why he went to the rupee room slightly out of his way.
Yeah, that is a little bit interesting. I'm not quite sure, unless Sinhe is going to fake flipper the other way. I don't know if this is saving him much time instead of just going up the other way, though.
Well, if he does do the fake flipper, he could fake flipper up to Hobo, check Lake Hylia item, reverse fake flipper, and then use the water and walking glitch with the Moon Pearl to check the 2 chests at the Waterfall Cave.
This is true. This is not something that was available at the last, at the Standard Seed tournament, because those chests weren't actually there at the last tournament. So, interesting to see this routing from Sinhe.
Looks like he's not going to go to Hobo. There's a possibility he doesn't know how to do reverse fake flippers. However, he does appear to be doing the walk on water with the Moon Pearl. So we'll be able to see these 2 items, which is a sequence break without the flippers.
Oh, and there's
Oh
the
my
boots.
goodness, the boots! That could be huge for Sinhe if those flippers are locked somewhere.
Yep, that's a significant sequence break there. Getting the boots before the flippers, so we'll have to see where the flippers are, because that's a sequence break there.
It'd be funny if it were just vanilla flippers.
That would be just mean.
And that's exactly what it is.
Vanilla flippers, so he'd be able to go over and get boots real quick anyway.
That's the second seed I've commentated with vanilla flippers.
So you're 2 for 2 for commentating seeds with vanilla flippers, huh?
I'm not sure if that's a curse, an omen, or a blessing.
You know what? That's all right. Most of the seeds that I've been commenting on have had extremely long swordless sequences. The record so far was actually an hour 30 that I did on a race for swordless, so I was really happy to see they already had swords by the time I logged in.
Yes, an early sword is always a good thing to have. Now we see Suikoboj, he's actually going to go do that early Zora check. He's grinding money in the cave near the desert. Interesting how he's going for a Zora before he's checking Palace of Darkness.
Yeah, that's interesting. I think it comes down to another one of those instances where Suikoboj is trying to take risks because of his record being 0-2 right now. We're going to see a lot of risks and hoping for a lot of reward, but not the right move as we know here.
We see Sinhe checking our good old friend Catfish. Now, interesting how, I understand why, with Sinhe wanting to check the waterfall cave, but it would be interesting if one of them had combined Catfish and then mirrored to check Zora.
That would have been an interesting move. I generally try to do that anyway, but it's not always possible, particularly with so much value that's been in Zora recently.
Yeah, and with the water walking moon pearl, without the flippers, it's not super good of an idea. Now we see Sinhe, he's going to check the graveyard ledge right away. He's done that hookshot into East Dark World.
I'm gonna check King's Tomb first, looks like.
Yeah, that is an option. Bonk rocks are easily forgotten when you get the boots.
And just some bombs. So we'll likely see Sinhe get not only King's Tomb and the ledge, but Bonk Rocks kind of all in the same swamp.
And you could even check the Bumper Cave, too, with the cape and the hookshot.
Yes, he can. That would be a good play, getting all 4 of these spots right in a row. Dark Dylan Hammer and Swamp is possible, but highly unlikely. Yes, it is, but we've seen crazier things happen this tournament. Don't count it out.
And we saw something extremely unfortunate for Suikoboj. He tried to do the water walking to go to the waterfall, but unfortunately he accidentally jumped onto the land, so he saved and quit in order to do it again. He's going to be really annoyed once he finds those vanilla flippers.
That is unfortunate. If you would just take time to go ahead and do it normally now, but you know, when you don't know exactly what's going on, it's easy to second guess yourself and easy to second guess in our position as commentators.
Yeah, and of course the last place you ever expect an item to be is vanilla, and we see Sinhe picking up the Titan's Emits at the Bonk Rock.
That'll open up quite a bit at that point. We're still looking for a few different items. We're looking for Fire Rod, Hammer's the big one. With Misery Mire, we know that Fluke's required, and only a little bit of love on the cliff for Bumper Cave.
Although, that means that the only thing required for them to check Fat Fairy is the flute. So, Fat Fairy is looking more and more likely like it might have something like the hammer, for instance.
Well, the more places these runners check, the more likely that, they'll eventually have something else somewhere. So, Sinhe, in the meantime, is diving into Skullwoods, which is an interesting gamble, but it pays off with the hammer.
I guess Fat Fairy is not your way today. He is, however, going to have to go through the Room of Misfortune.
I think he's willing to take that after that gamble to get the hammer. I would be perfectly happy going through this if it meant that kind of logic.
Yes, and it was a sound play too, as Skullwoods, it's not that long to check the first few chests. There's several chests. You might get one or both of the items. And it is likely we've seen a lot of Skullwoods plays paying off lately.
Skull Woods has been very important so far in this run, even when it's a pendant dungeon. It's not the green pendant, so I don't think Sinhe is going to go ahead and clear it. We may see a pedestal check though here before too long, and but as soon as they get that second item, I'm sure we'll see Sinhe just bug out.
Can't do a pedestal check without the book, but
right.
But that hammer does make Thieves Town a lot more palatable. It is the green pendant too, so we'll see if Sinhe decides to gamble Thieves Town or not.
I've always had some pretty decent luck in Thieves Town, and with those 4 chests that are in there, you at least want to check those first 4, especially if you're in the area.
Not sure what Suikoboj was doing. It looks like perhaps he wanted to do East Death Mountain, but he forgot he didn't have the hookshot.
That's unfortunate. We know where the hookshot is if he just routes himself over that direction.
Unfortunately, he seems to be avoiding the Palace of Darkness like the plague.
I can't necessarily blame him for it, though. When you don't have the hammer, and you've already done one dip into there, you want to avoid it if you can.
Suikoboj hasn't actually done one dip into pot. He hasn't been over there at all.
I thought I saw him going there.
I don't think he has. Otherwise, he would probably have the Master Sword. But speaking of swords, Sinhe picks up Tempered at chess game, and Suikoboj is picking up those Titans, which will lead him again. That's Dark World access via a completely different way. So that might lead him onto another wild goose chase, and he might not go to Palace of Darkness for a while.
Every item that Suikoboj gets is going to delay him going into Pod, which is unfortunate. So he's going over here to check King's Tomb right now.
Although actually, it's not necessarily that unfortunate. However, because we know that the hammer is in Skull Woods, and that's right next to the portal that he can access. So if he does an early Skull Woods gamble, he could fully clear Palace of Darkness in one trip, as opposed to the 3 that it will take Sinhe.
In the meanwhile, Sinhe also picked up, in addition to Temper, also got the Ether Medallion. Now, we haven't seen either Mire or Turtle Rock yet, so we don't know which pendants are going to be required. But Ether's always nice to have regardless.
And it looks like Suikoboj is going right for that Dark World portal. I don't blame him.
North or south, Suikoboj? North or south? Which way are you going? Oh, and he's going south.
Unfortunate for him, but he doesn't know that yet. Although if he does get a fire rod, that might lead him towards Skull.
Sinhe in one of the hell rooms in this game. This is one of the least fun rooms I think most of us have encountered one way or the other, unless you have, for example, the cape, which he's not using, just powering his way through.
Suikoboj picking up that Master Sword from the chess game. He'll greatly appreciate that, having been on Fighter this whole time.
It's a nice upgrade. If only he would keep going to the places where we know the value are. But these route divergences are what makes this game exciting, though. Seeing and knowing exactly where some of the other things are, and we're just begging them to go that direction.
Although again, Suikoboj has made several plays that have resulted in him not having to do as many double or triple dips as Sinhe, so if we do see an early Fire Rod, and the second item in Skull is important, it could pay off big for Suikoboj not doing the double dip to Skull. Because if Sinhe does pick up the Fire Rod somewhere, with only one item left in Skull, it's unlikely that he'll return, with it being only a pendant.
Suikoboj starting the South Hyrule route, except he didn't have enough rupees for the digging game. We've seen a lot of value out of the digging game in this tournament so far as well. He is going to take Jeremiah back to his home, though. Jeremiah was a bullfrog. Was a good friend of mine. But
he was indeed. So far, nothing super required so far in Thieves Town. We have seen a sword upgrade and a medallion, however, there's no guarantee that those two items are required. Sword upgrade is always nice, however, you only need at least tempered for most of these two runners probably, and if we find the fourth sword upgrade, there's a possibility that Suikoboj might not even have to enter Thieves Town, which could give him, again, another time advantage.
In the meantime, Suikoboj is taking the purple chest on its stroll. Probably going to stop off into the South Grove to get the item here as well. Not bad routing. You can get some decent one-off items, and we've seen some value there. Oh, but let go of the chest before, so he's going to have to route back.
That is unfortunate, although pity he didn't enter that mirror spot before he went back for that purple chest. As we see Sinhe picking up his green pendant and a red bottle.
Yeah, Sinhe is making quick work, so we've got 3 pendants, or 3 crystals to 2 right now, so Sinhe's with a little bit of a lead, but you make a good point. Suikoboj is trying to prevent double dips into some of these dungeons, so his completion rates would be a little bit quicker than Sinhe's right now. We're just wondering if Sinhe is going to get a large enough lead once it's all done. Meanwhile, Sinhe's checking the shovel game, seeing if we can find any value here. And $50.
Just the money that Suikoboj didn't have.
Meanwhile, Suikoboj is getting some of the items and just some rupees so far, which he's picking up because he needs rupees in order to do the digging game.
Which will just give him more rupees. Meanwhile, Sinhe is following in his footsteps. That's an unfortunate mirror placement because he mirrored directly over a bush that he cut, so he might not be able to get back. Oh,
It'll take him a little bit of time. Yeah, in the meanwhile, Sinhe is able to route in the Peg Cave, see if we have any value here, and just a little love.
And that is correct. Suiko never unlocked Palace of Darkness, so he still needs 110 rupees for that also.
That might be another reason why Suikoboj avoided Pod earlier, is because he didn't have the money.
Although, it's strange how, if he was so low on money, he didn't grind a little bit extra when he was grinding money for Zora.
Just some money in the purple chest as well, unfortunately.
Suikoboj going up to check Hype Cave now, so we will be able to see if it's hype or not hype.
I don't know, for this tournament so far, it hasn't been much of a Hype Cave, it's been the Cave of Mediocrity.
I've seen some pretty good things in here in some of my matches, but we'll see how this goes.
And Sinhe picking up the Fisher-Price shield, as Suikoboj did earlier.
Flute!
Oh, the flute! And since we know that one's required, that's a good pickup in Hype Cave. So, Hype Cave living up to its name this time.
And that flute is all they require in order to get both crystals 5 and 6 and check Fat Fairy.
Zelda?
The problem is that Suikoboj is getting the flute and being able to unlock everything. The unfortunate part is Sinhe's right there. It's not going to be too much longer before Sinhe has the flute as well, so not much advantage so far. Meanwhile, Sinhe's had both the hookshot and the hammer for quite a while now and able to do some things that Suikoboj is not, such as Peg Cave.
Also interesting to note that they can enter the Palace of Darkness too. Or no, the Swamp Palace. Rather, with the flippers, the hammer, the hookshot, and the mirror, so that's another pendant dungeon, and a lengthy one at that. But with 6 items, we'll see if Sinhe decides to dive in there, take the gamble. If he does, that could give Suikoboj the time he needs to catch up.
Yeah, it's a pendant dungeon, but you're right. 6 items, there can be a lot of value in Swamp, so it's usually worth diving in there, regardless whether or not it's a crystal dungeon. At least for a handful of chests, just because of all the value that you could find there. All rise for the Swag Duck National Anthem.
Looks like Sinhe is following Suikoboj, activating that flute right away. It's possible that they both have the same idea of heading off to Mire and Desert immediately.
Well, there's a lot of value in Mire and Desert, especially since they're both crystals and you can route them together. Sinhe getting off that hookshot speed right there. Good run there. Checking the shed out is Suikoboj. We're going to see what kind of value we have out here in the shed.
As we saw, the Quake medallion required to enter Mire, so they can't quite route it yet. However, if they find the Quake, they know where to return.
No value in shed. I imagine that Suikoboj is going to check Checkerboard Cave as well while he's here.
Looks like he's going to check Desert first.
Picking up that full heart container.
And Sinhe, we have an actual route divergence. He's going to check Dark Death Mountain with those Titan's mitts.
Can't really blame him for that particular route as well. Already picked up, or he got his flute activated, so it's a quick run up here. Not a bad call at all.
And we see that the boots were required in order to get the big key on the Desert Torch, although they were already required to get the Titan's mitts. And with Sinhe heading up to the Turtle Rock area, we'll be able to see what medallion that is needs. So we'll be able to see both medallions pretty quickly.
Sinhe using hookshot strats to get through the cave quickly, which is interesting because the way I'm told, the hookshot strat was developed when you didn't have the mirror, but it also saves some time if you just already happen to have the hookshot equipped.
And most of us do have the hookshot equipped when heading off there, coming from the west side.
Yep.
So far, nothing for either of our runners, but hopefully that'll change. We see Sinhe heading off, and we'll be able to see in just a second what's required for T-Rock, and it is Ether, which they already have. So there's a possibility, actually, that They can enter Turtle Rock right now. Fire Rod or some other troll item is in Turtle Rock.
It's possible. Well, we know Sinhe can enter, but Suikoboj cannot because Ether was located in Thieves Town, and Suikoboj hasn't headed there yet.
Additionally, the hammer to pound pegs is in Skull Woods, and Suikoboj again has not headed there yet. So that's 2 pendant dungeons that Suikoboj is going to need to enter. And it looks like, if I had to guess, Suikoboj is avoiding pendant dungeons. But we find silvers, which will be very nice for him.
Yeah, silvers are definitely a worthwhile find there in Checkerboard Cave. It's interesting because I do think we're seeing some of Suikoboj's logic here, wanting to avoid double dipping dungeons if at all possible, but in this version 26 logic, oftentimes we're seeing a lot more double dips than in previous versions.
Looks like Sinhe might be making a Spike Cave gamble.
Oh, and Suikoboj takes a death. Meanwhile, we see Sinhe walking his way through Spike Cave. It's always dangerous, but he's got his cane up.
It's always a good idea to use as many of your hearts as possible to conserve magic when doing Spike Cave, as hearts are a lot easier to restore than magic.
Well, also, I believe hearts are restored when you do a save, but at least up to a certain point. But magic is still saved at a certain point, so don't mind not knocking it down, especially if you're planning on saving and quitting.
Which, I mean, who's not going to save and quit out of Spike Cave? Otherwise, you have to walk back, waste your magic, and then do what when you're outside. So, it's always the logical gamble. As we see, Sinhe is going to clean up the mire area, following in Suikoboj's footsteps, but unfortunately for Suikoboj, Sinhe has a pretty large lead right now with all these required items that Suikoboj just has been avoiding.
Suikoboj is going to go ahead and get Desert while he is here. Neither of them are going to be able to dip in and get Mire, which is going to be unfortunate, but they'll both be able to get Desert. Suikoboj making quick work with those silvers.
Desert, however, not paying off for him, so he's going to be wondering, what do I do now?
He's going to have to, and we all know it, he's going to have to start double dipping in some of these dungeons.
He probably is thinking he's got 3 options. Actually 4. Pod, Thieves, Skull, or Dark Death Mountain. Although, without the hookshot, or he does have... Where's the hookshot again? Hookshot was in Pod, so he doesn't have that. So not being able to do Hookshot Cave is another issue, preventing Dark Death Mountain from being profitable. But right now, he's going to go check the Hobo, which isn't a bad idea.
And Sinhe, instead of going into Desert Palace, looks like going to try to route Desert into Mire. In the meantime, heading over to Swamp Palace to see what one of those 6 chests hopefully will hold.
Not necessarily a bad idea. There is a lot of value here, and he can complete this dungeon unlike Turtle Rock. However, another possibility is he hasn't killed King Helmasaur, and he can now with the hammer. So there's a possibility that he might be holding an item.
I haven't been keeping track of the chests that Sinhe already had in that. Do you know if he's gotten all the items or not?
I do not. I was not keeping track either.
It's also possible that Sinhe has already gotten all the value out of the pod and is just waiting to route that into some convenient location. But neither of us have been keeping track, so we're bad. And That's some value. Good risk there. Sinhe getting the fire rod in Swamp Palace.
That is a major item. Unfortunately for Suikoboj, all 3 pendant dungeons that it looked like he was trying to avoid initially have required items: hammer, ether, and the fire rod.
Suikoboj is in Skull Woods now, though, and we know that there's value in Skull Woods with the hammer, so this will be good news for him.
Although you have to imagine that when he picks up this hammer, having not entered Palace of Darkness at all, he's probably going to go on a wild goose chase to finish up all of Pod, which he will get 2 nice and required items, but unfortunately that'll lead him even further away from Swamp and from the Ether in Thieves Town.
And it's right there too. We would really wish that he would be heading that direction because Ether is going to be required jumping into Thieves Town. But fortunately, I think you're right. I think the hammer is going to lead him over to the direction of Pod.
Plus, of course, the tempered sword that we know is in Thieves Town. That's never a bad thing to get either. Although it is possible that Suikoboj, upon getting the fire rod, he might bail out of Swamp Palace immediately. And if he does, that could make up some time for him.
It's possible. As chat pointed out, we are only Quake away from Go mode for Sinhe, which is really amazing because it didn't feel like all that long ago we were wondering what the next item was. But we're Quake away.
That is very true.
Shovel. Sinhe picks up the shovel also. Who knows, maybe Quake's hidden behind Shovel? Fetch quest?
If so, that could be huge. Of course, Quake could be at Fat Fairy.
Quake can kind of be anywhere at this point. We could entirely see Quake at Pedestal even.
That would be huge for a Sinhe, having completed Thieves Town and most of Skull Woods and Swamp already.
It would be. It'd be really interesting to see that, especially with Suikoboj. Oh, Suikoboj made his way through thinking maybe he had the fire rod, maybe he can do a pedestal check, but can't do either.
Of course, we could also see it at Sahasrara. He could be holding on to it with the green pendant, which Sinhe has yet to check because he hasn't been over to the pod area since he got the hammer.
Sinhe making quick work of Argus.
And that is true, that Turtle Rock is clearable, so we could see a Quake in T-Rock.
We've seen it happen before in this logic, where items of value are still in T-Rock. People try to save T-Rock until they're in Go mode, but there's so many chests that are available there. Sometimes it's not possible.
Suikoboj checking that Thieves Town, which will be good for him getting that sword and the ether.
Meanwhile, Sinhe's going to go ahead and do west side of Swamp Palace. He did skip it, hoping to find all the value, but didn't find all the items available. Suikoboj slowly making his way through there, getting a little bit of lag. Oh, that's the best bunny sprite ever, the 8-bit Luigi.
It is pretty good, but another location that they can check is Ice Palace. Is that fire rod? That means Ice Palace is enterable and clearable.
So if you were Sinhe, where would you end up going? Would you prefer to go to Ice Palace or would you go to Turtle Rock? Turtle Rock has more chests that are available, but it's out of the way, whereas Ice Palace is right there. Which would you go?
I'd definitely do Ice Palace. Aside from being one of my favorite dungeons, it's right next to you, and if it does have Quake, you'll be able to go mode Turtle Rock and then head right for G Tower, meaning that would save a lot of time backtracking. And Ice Palace isn't that long to full clear. Especially if you get lucky and get a small key right away.
It has the potential to be pretty quick, but we've also seen a lot of runners take their time going through there, especially when they're not in go mode, checking everything. We've even seen a few runners take their time and not do the bomb jump there. Sinhe picking up the red array, everyone's least favorite boomerang.
So nothing of value aside from that fire rod in the first chest. If Suikoboj were to leave right away after getting that fire rod, that could give him a little bit of a time advantage.
Judging from Suikoboj's style of play so far, not liking to double dip, I doubt that we'd see that. I think we'd see him go ahead and full clear it while he was there.
That is unfortunate, because Sinhe does seem to have a bit of a commanding lead. And Sinhe going into Ice Palace right now, doing what we had theorized, going to try and check that, get Quake if he's lucky, and so that he doesn't have to reclimb Death Mountain twice if Turtle Rock doesn't pay off.
You mentioned Sinhe's commanding lead, but keep in mind, it's still only 3 crystals to 2. There's still plenty of time for Suikoboj to catch up if Sinhe has a spot of bad luck, makes some routing decisions, anything of that nature. So it is still anybody's game. We've seen weirder things happen in this tournament so far.
Indeed. Plus, of course, not having to double dip Palace of Darkness, Suikoboj is several items behind, but a lot of those are in Pod, which he hasn't been to and will likely go to right away. And if we see a Quake at Helmasaur, Sinhe will be doing all these other dungeons and might not head back to Pod for quite a while, so that could give Suikoboj an advantage. If Fire Rod were his go mode item, that would help tremendously.
Oh, Sinhe having some unfortunate luck with the switch. This is not a fun room to be in, no matter what.
Chat's saying that Helmasaur has a map/compass, which is unfortunate, but there's still always the green pendant from Sahasrahla.
Chat, help educate me. What is the avatar that Sinhe is using? We can see Luigi for Suikoboj, but I'm unfamiliar with this particular character. Can you help educate me?
I am also unfamiliar with this character, too.
Yeah, Sinhe not bomb jumping. That's an interesting decision. Not necessarily out of the ordinary. We've seen people avoid the bomb jump if they're going to full clear this place before, but interesting.
Possibility that he's just uncomfortable with it. It isn't the easiest if you're inexperienced. And to see him, despite having a small key, he's not going to the right. Is he just planning on go-moding this and hoping for the best?
I don't think he can go mode it because he didn't bomb jump.
He did pick up the small key, however, so he could enter that, and with the big key there, it's not that much longer to not do the bomb jump, especially with Samaria.
He does have Samaria, so he can just go there.
But it looks like he's going to full clear anyway, so very interesting how he decided to go to the bottom first, despite having that small key.
Meanwhile, we see Suikoboj finally making his way over to Pod. This is the decision we've been waiting on him to make. See if we get any frustration slashes out of him in a bit.
He's going to go get that green, or that green pendant item as we see Sinhe picking up the book. That opens up tablets, but if Quake is from Sahasrara, that could give Suikoboj the chance he needs to catch up, because he'll be in go mode after a little bit, but unfortunately that was not the case.
Just some money. And all of the enemies in the hookshot room for Sinhe trolling him.
Although that book, he might go for the a pedestal check with that book.
It's possible, and Quake at pedestal is still very much a possibility.
And
Keep the dream alive.
And having the fire rod and only Skull Woods as the last pendant, he could head up there, mirror from the Dark World, check to see what's on pedestal. If it's Quake, then mirror back and kill Mothula.
And that's the 4th bottle, I think, for Sinhe.
That is indeed the 4th.
So I just want to make sure that we get this right. We found all 4 bottles. We're making our way quickly through, but we still only have the Fisher-Price Shield and Green Mail. So even with all the health that we have, our players can still take a lot of damage very quickly here in these later dungeons.
I believe we have actually seen a second shield. It was at the maze race, and neither runner chose to pick it up.
That's right.
However, still Green Mail does might give our runners a little bit of trouble.
Suikoboj struggling a little bit in this Mimic Cave. Sinhe, in the meantime, is going straight through.
We'll see how Sinhe's cold stare fight goes.
Well, don't have half magic, don't have bombos, so it'll be 8 shots with the fire rod to open it.
He does, however, have tempered, so it shouldn't be that hard of a fight if he gets his spins and slashes right at the start and manages to trap the puffs in the corner. Looks like he did a pretty excellent job until he got hit by the ice, so this cold stare shouldn't give him much more trouble.
Down to 2 hearts, don't get hit. And, ooh. A little bit of heartburn there, all for just a key.
Now, with that book he got in the Ice Palace, is he going to go, another option is, of course, both of our tablets. He might check the Bombos tablet, he might check the Ether tablet when he goes up to Turtle Rock.
We'll see. This is kind of a interesting choice for Sinhe. There's a lot of different options. Check the individual places of the tablets, go check, do a pedestal check to see if that's going to be required, because you do have Fire Rod now. Or go straight up to T-Rock. And we have some screenshots here.
Yeah, the restream froze on my end.
Zertanul's already aware of it and taking care of it. While we're waiting on everything to catch up, let's give a shout out to our restreamers, Zertanul, and our tracker. Let me pull the name up here.
Sir
Linkalot. That's right. Thank you guys so much for doing the dirty work on the back end. It's not always fun. It's not always glamorous, but we appreciate you.
Yeah, without you, this restream would not be possible. Especially thanks to volunteering last minute. We know that we didn't get the early part of the race restreamed, and so again, a special thanks for jumping in at that last moment, so that even though the race had already started, we could get at least most of the race shown for the viewers.
In the meantime, we did see Suikoboj pick up his tempered sword.
And Sinhe is entering Desert. That's another place he hasn't checked. He's probably really hoping for that Quake so that he doesn't have to double dip Death Mountain and do Turtle Rock.
And I believe we've already seen Quake cleared out by Suikoboj, though. This is the one place that Suikoboj went that Sinhe did not. It'll be a quick clear, all things considered, with silver arrows once we get to that point. But not going to be able to find the value.
Yes, that is correct. Desert did not have anything of importance. It'd be interesting if we saw something like the Powder in Turtle Rock and Magic Bat having the Quake medallion, since Suikoboj hasn't actually gotten the mushroom yet and checked the witch, I don't believe. And if he checked the powder with using powderless glitch with the mushroom in Samaria, that could give him a huge advantage. Obviously a very slim chance, but a chance nonetheless.
I think at this point Suikoboj needs any chance that he can get. Meanwhile, Sinhe is getting about to take on Landmolus. See if he can get his 2-cycle one. Those silver arrows, and he does.
A very nice Landmolus fight.
Yep, and bite-sized BK in chat makes a good point. Suikoboj isn't actually that far behind if he only does the first chest in Swamp Palace. Also, if Pedestal is required, because isn't required. Because if Pedestal is, then he still have to go through and complete that whole dungeon.
Yeah, but unfortunately, it's likely that Suikoboj, unless Fire Rod is his go mode item, will likely full clear Swamp. There's not many places that he could check without that Fire Rod. He can't full clear Turtle Rock, so it's unlikely that he'll attempt to go there. So it's very few places he could find the Quake Medallion and go mode with the Fire Rod.
It's entirely possible, though, because Suikoboj does have access to Turtle Rock, and we know his penchant up to this point in time to avoid dungeons. Oh, but he doesn't have Fire Rod, so, yeah, Suikoboj's routing here is going to be really interesting.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but have we seen Sinhe check the shovel location?
I don't believe so.
So that shovel is another location that could possibly have Quake, and if Sinhe goes on a wild goose chase to Turtle Rock and was just digging the grove, then that could again give Suikoboj that slight advantage he needs to catch up.
Yep. In the meantime, Suikoboj does get his 4th crystal, makes quick work of Helmasaur.
And here we see Suikoboj is not having to double dip pod slight advantage coming into play. Sinhe's going to kill Helmasaur right now, but Suikoboj getting those items and killing Helmasaur in one trip instead of 3, so that will help him significantly.
Oh, and we'll see where Suikoboj is going up to East Death Mountain, yep, because he has not been up here yet. We know that there's not a ton of value, unfortunately. He's hoping because it's been everything is locked behind the hookshot for him here. Unfortunately, he's going to be disappointed.
Yeah, the only possibility that I can see working out for him is if the magic bat has Quake and Powder is somewhere deep in Turtle Rock.
Well, it's entirely possible, and it's not likely, but it's possible that he'll try to route Turtle Rock in and do a Turtle Rock dive to check things. Again, it doesn't seem to be his style based on what we've seen here so far, but it's entirely possible that he'll do that.
And you have to imagine he's getting desperate. After all those items in Pod were available for quite a long time, so he might be wondering, am I really far behind after all these items that I just didn't get, but I could have a lot earlier?
Meanwhile, Sinhe's working his way quite quickly, tanking the damage on his way to Helmsor. Helmsor's got quite a bit of troll going on. Lots of red balls flying around.
Now, Suikoboj is going to be able to check the Dark Death Mountain too, in addition to just East Death Mountain. So, we'll be able to check all of that, and we'll see if he decides to go for the Turtle Rock gamble. And we'll also see where Sinhe decides to go. After finishing up King Helmsor, he won't have many places left to go aside from Turtle Rock or some of the one item locations like Shovel, Pedestal, Tablets.
Yeah. With Suikoboj, I can't necessarily even blame his routing because he's doing Dark and Lightside Death Mountain at the same time. He's trying to route as many things together as he possibly can. So I'm not really able to blame any of his routing decisions because I'd probably make the same decisions. Just some of these choices are not playing out, unfortunately.
And it looks like Sinhe is going for that pedestal hype check. If it is at pedestal, I wouldn't say that there's much of a chance for a comeback for Suikoboj.
Alright, so chat, get ready. Start making your predictions. If we're going to that check, what do you predict it's going to be? Do we have a Quake? Are we going to be trolled by checking here? Get your guesses in.
A Powder would also be interesting too, because he might be doing it, and if Magic Bat doesn't have anything, he won't know, and that's just a longer chain of items that he might gamble without knowing if it'll pay off until the very end.
I'm seeing a few Powder on pedestal. Interesting. We're going to do the pedestal check. See, I'd like to see Powder on pedestal and then Couch Cash on Magic Bat, just because that would be super trolly.
It would be, and that might put Sinhe, nope, just Couch Cash at the pedestal. If it was the Powder, then, and he did check it and it didn't pay off, that might have given Sinhe a little bit of a tilt and made him play a little bit off his game too. Having
Sinhe has his portal still halfway in, so he isn't able to get in there. That's unfortunate for Sinhe.
Although I do wonder where he's trying to go, not using the flute. Did they not find the second item in Skull Woods?
I'm pretty sure they did. Both items were found in Skull Woods, and so there's no reason to go back in there.
I think both items were found also. I believe we know the hammer was in there, and I think the second one was the vanilla big key. Perhaps he just didn't item count correctly.
I don't know. It's possible. That's... Oh, it looks like he's thinking about it now. Maybe it's not the best decision.
Looks like he's probably going to enter here and just check. Yep, he's checking to see what items he's missing. He sees just the big key and the map. And he's going to go back in because he doesn't know that the big key, the big chest, won't have anything useful. But unfortunately, it's just going to be a small key in all likelihood.
Meanwhile, Suikoboj is taking a look at the map, thinking things over, wondering where he can go to get that value.
Unfortunately, he checked Spike Cave as opposed to gambling an early Turtle Rock check. Oh, he didn't get the second item.
That's interesting. Then Suikoboj, I don't remember seeing Suikoboj go that route either. But apparently, my memory is not what it used to be. Suikoboj or Sinhe going ahead and safety strats here, picking up a blue potion, making sure that he'll be able to do it. That might mean he's going up to T-Rock.
He is going for the Turtle Rock gamble, and if the Quake is at Shovel, that could be huge, as Suikoboj is checking Bumper Cave and some of the northern stuff. Apparently he doesn't want to gamble that Pendant Swamp.
I don't blame him. Although interesting routing, I think I would have gone up the other way in order to check the tablet on my way to Turtle Rock myself.
Yeah, that tablet is a pretty outstanding item that he could be checking. Although full clear Turtle Rock isn't that much longer than partial clear Turtle Rock, so he might just be gambling that it's in Turtle Rock. And it's a sensible play with how few items, or with how many more items are in Turtle Rock compared to just the one at the Ether tablet.
And it looks like Sinhe's making that realization and going and checking the Ether tablet while he's up here.
Half magic.
You know what? That's worthwhile to have him getting ready to head to T-Rock.
A very nice item to have, although unfortunately not the item he was looking for.
No, but if you have to go into T-Rock and you're getting T-Magic just before, I think that's perfectly fine myself.
Oh, definitely.
Suikoboj getting ready to... He sold his drugs for a whole... Oh, red potion. That's right.
Again, very unlikely that he would have checked the powderless bat, even if he could have, because again, it's a very new glitch and not many runners know about it.
That's true. Yeah. We need to see some more powderless bat strats in this tournament, so more people know it.
Same with the new water walking glitches to get Lake Hylia item and the Zora Ledge item without the flippers.
Sinhe making his way through Turtle Rock, and Suikoboj looks like he's about to scale T-Rock or Death Mountain as well. Is Suikoboj making a T-Rock play?
No, looks like he just can't decide what he wants to do. Looks like he's going for Swamp though, if I had to guess.
I'm not going to say where I think Suikoboj is going until I actually see him go there. Unfortunately, he's taking some interesting routing decisions here.
probably out of just desperation of he doesn't know where to go.
And that's fair. That's, when you're in this kind of mindset where you're confused and you don't know where to go and you're trying to, sometimes you're just running around with your controller, just trying to think while you go.
Of course, we could definitely see Suikoboj come back from this. If he leaves after getting the fire rod, jumps into Ice Palace, gets that book and shovel, and if the Balmos tablet or the shovel spot has Quake, then he won't have to climb Death Mountain twice to get to Turtle Rock, then come back down, then go back up again. So that could give him a bit of an advantage he needs, although he has to go to Ice Palace right away after getting this fire rod, which I doubt he will.
It'll be interesting to see the routing decision that he chooses. Again, I don't know if he'll do it because it just doesn't seem in his playstyle so far, but it's possible if he can make that play.
He's picking up that fire rod and looks like he's going to continue further in the dungeon, which, all things considered, is not a bad play. It's just, unfortunately, this time not the correct play.
Nope, I didn't get to see Sinhe's bunny mode, but that's okay. And Sinhe's going to continue to full clear, or at least run over and get this treasure chest, still looking for that Quake. Sinhe working his way through Turtle Rock, using Fire Rod strats on... What are those dungeons called anyway?
Pokies? I mean, they kind of are, but they kind of aren't. This is just the Mario dungeon anyway. Might as well be called Pokies.
They remind me quite a bit of the cactuses from Mario 2. Just having to defeat one layer at a time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to fault Suikoboj for this play, because 6 in a row, absolutely, this is one of those calls that it's easy for us to sit back and kind of armchair quarterback this decision because we know what's going on. Meanwhile, Sinhe does pick up the blue mail, but again, we know exactly that there's nothing else of value in here, and getting all the pendants is absolutely worthless. So we've all been there, not getting the value that we want to see in the dungeons.
Yeah, again, I also definitely support the decision. And there's our third shield from Sinhe also. Looks like T-Rock is having nothing but safeties so far.
It's interesting, if they would have gotten that other shield in the maze, then they would just, get the mirror shield just in time for Laser Bridge.
And that is the only thing the mirror shield is good for. Laser bridge skip.
Oh, that was a nifty shot. Firing an arrow and then using the boots to catch up with it just in time to kill the Mini Helmosaur. That was a 50 check.
Yeah, those mini Helmosaurs can definitely be in the way. And both male upgrades in T-Rock.
All the protection in T-Rock.
But unless Trinex is holding Quake, this was a bust.
Well, I mean, it's a bit of a bust, but not entirely. Turtle Rock is not that much faster in Go mode than it is any other time, so having to come here anyway for the crystal, it's not a huge time waster.
Yeah, the real time loss is from having to reclimb Death Mountain going to GT instead of going from Turtle Rock to GT without having to climb Death Mountain twice.
Bite Size is saying Bombos might be the answer. Where is Quake, everyone? Get your questions in. Where is Quake?
I think at this point it can only be at Trinex, Bombos, or the Shovel Spot. Or, of course, Magic Bat, should one of those have the powder.
Sinhe, a little bit slow, getting some ice. Again, we haven't checked Shovel Spot. That'd be interesting if Shovel did end up having it.
Yeah, and he left right after getting that shovel. So if it did have it, that could be big, because he'll be able to Go mode Ice. And even if he can't do the bomb jump, we saw an early big key, early small key. So Go mode Ice is definitely pretty fast with that Samaria. So it really all depends if this Shovel Spot just happens to have Quake.
Meanwhile, Sinhe's racking his brain, wondering where that Quake medallion could possibly be.
Looks like he might be checking the Bombos tablet. And there it is!
That is huge for Suikoboj, because he's in Go mode now.
And Sinhe is going out of his way to check Bombos, so we could see a comeback from Suikoboj. He is still behind on dungeons by 2 crystals. However, being able to Go mode both of them and not having to backtrack will make them take less time than it took for Sinhe. And depending on Ganon tower plays, if Sinhe goes to the right and it's to the left or vice versa, it's still either one of these runners' game. We see Sinhe going to get that shovel item now, so he's not going to be that far behind.
Nope, this is one of those plays where Suikoboj has the advantage here, but still a couple dungeons behind, so we will see Sinhe go immediately into Mire as soon as they go. We'll see if there's any frustration slashes.
It's really just going to be all about execution from here on out. Who can execute better and who makes the right call in Ganon's tower. Another thing to note is Suikoboj will not have the red mail doing Misery Mire, but Sinhe will, making Suikoboj have to execute just slightly better on that Vitrios fight.
Well, I mean, Sinhe is still 2 dungeons behind. He won't have to do the double climb on Death Mountain, but still, Sinhe does have a significant lead going into all of this.
Indeed, he does.
We're hoping, I'm sure Sinhe's hoping for an early spot big key.
Rick, the shovel was in the Swamp Palace.
Suikoboj doing one at a time on the Staphos Knights. Yep, we were all, as Zertinol points out, we were all trying to convince Suikoboj to go ahead and dip out of Swamp Palace, but had he listened to us and not picked up that shovel, he would be still even further behind now. So, good job, Suikoboj, not listening to the phantom voices in your head.
Yeah, the commentator's curse turned out to be a blessing. I'd actually thought that shovel was in Ice Palace, as we see Suikoboj getting a pretty nice bomb jump with the Luigi sprite. It's a very non-standard sprite, and unfortunately he just fell down and has to redo it all again.
That is unfortunate. He got the bomb jump and then forgot to hit the switch, so had to go back and got knocked off the edge during that time. That is unfortunate for Suikoboj.
Yeah, and it can be harder to do some of these clips and jumps with with a non-standard sprite like a Luigi sprite as opposed to a standard Link or something. So again, even more kudos that he managed to do at least once with the Luigi sprite. And fortunately for him, he doesn't know this, but he'll still be able to do this dungeon pretty quickly with the big key where it is.
Yep, he'll be able to get through it. It won't be quite as fast, but luckily he does have the cane, so Samaria. He'll still be able to move through it relatively quickly, even without that bomb jump. And Sinhe picks up the big key in Misery Mire in Vanilla Location.
Vanilla Big Key is never a fun thing to have in Mire, with that moving wall, especially when you're in Go mode, but fortunately he has a lead, so it won't, it's not really that big of a deal. As we see, Suikoboj is just picking up one or two more chests in ice while he's there. Perhaps he's looking for a mail upgrade, or the Butter Sword. Just another safety to have, which isn't a bad idea, especially going into Cold Stare with such low health.
Yep, and no magic powder, so can't get many of these anti-fairies to switch him around.
Although he might have a blue potion around, maybe. I know he used the red potion. Well, he just used a potion anyway, so he should be fine. Although, he might not have enough magic. I'm not sure if these two small pots will be enough to fill him up.
Might not be.
It was not.
He's going to be one shot short. Don't go in there, Suikoboj.
Hopefully he has a green or a blue potion, otherwise this is not good for him.
Oh, he does have a blue potion.
That's good. And with the all the extra magic, he'll be able to use the Fire Rod on these puffs, which does the same as the Butter Sword to Cold Stare.
Meanwhile, we see Sinhe using Silver Arrow strats on Vitreous.
Speaky has to be careful. He can't take another hit from the puffs. Oh, he just barely cuts it close and kills them with the Tempered Sword. Although
he does. In the meantime, Sinhe does get the crystals, so 2 dungeons down at the same time. That's 7 crystals. He's on his way up to Ganon's Tower. So, chat, you know what this means. What chest will have the big key in Ganon's Tower? Get your guesses in now.
I'm going to say Tile Rim for the sheer hope that Suikoboj gambles that first, and it's the last thing that Sinhe checks.
Zertnul is reading my mind. I have always checked said Torch Room throughout this entire tournament.
Suikoboj heading off onto Meyer now. He's going to have to be careful though. He depleted his potion supply in with the Coldster fight, although with silvers and the bow, plenty of arrows, that shouldn't be much of a problem. Although if anyone has to worry about arrows, it might be Sinhe. He only has 13 going into this, and if he does Ice Armos and misses a few shots, he might be running short.
It is unusually low for arrows at this stage in the game. Usually you pick them up just in droves between them and the arrow upgrades, so that's interesting.
Although, fortunately for him, he does have silver arrows, so that's significantly less arrows he's going to need to use.
Ice Blue asks, how trolly was this seed? I don't think it was terribly trolly, honestly.
I mean, we did have an Aghanim required seed, but aside from that, well, and Vanilla Zora giving the flippers, but it's mainly just a gamble of who went into all the pendant dungeons, because all 3 pendant dungeons did have required items. So honestly, if you just look at it like that, this seed did have some troll, but we didn't have a super troll.
You know, Aga 1, items in independent dungeons, and then having to double dip pod. Or not having to double dip pod, but whoever took the risk of going into pod early, that really was the key that separated Sinhe and Suikoboj, I think, is Sinhe made an early dip into pod and found the value there pretty early, which unlocked quite a bit. Meanwhile, Suikoboj was just kind of running around, never really that far behind, but it allowed Sinhe to pull ahead.
Another thing I've noticed that Suikoboj did that unfortunately cost him is he, when, for example, doing Skullwoods and Thieves Town, he didn't dive into those dungeons right away because they were pendant dungeons, and instead he checked a bunch of other locations, Sinhe finding the butter on that side. Suikoboj, pardon me, he checked a lot of locations and then backtracked. Pardon me again, I appear to have swallowed a cat. But yeah, Suikoboj checked a lot of other locations and then backtracked for several of these pendant dungeons, whereas Sinhe, you just operated onto the motto of, I'm right here, so I'm just going to enter the dungeon anyway.
Yep, can't necessarily say it's bad routing decisions by either player, it's just different styles, and it paying off this time for Sinhe as he's making his way through this dungeon. That was an interesting strat. I don't know if I've ever seen that for that room for Sinhe, using the Redarang to go through as opposed to the Cane of Samaria. It was considerably faster, I thought.
It is one of my favorite strats to do in that room, using the red boomerang, and that's one of the reasons why I consider personally the red boomerang to be superior to the blue.
Yeah, Pod only unlocked Hook and Samario, but that was a lot that Hookshot ended up unlocking quite a bit for Sinhe that Suikoboj was still running around trying to figure out. Hookshot, I think, ended up unlocking Boots because Boots were up on Death Mountain. So it just opened up most of the world there.
Additionally, Pod also had a sword upgrade, which gave Sinhe just a little bit of extra damage that Suiko did not have.
No, Boots were in Waterfall Fairy, that's right. Thank you, Zertnul, for correcting me.
Sinhe picking up 10 arrows somewhere, so his arrow count is no longer a thing to worry about. But it is possible that we could have a tile room big key, but unfortunately even that was not enough to bring back Suiko, as it looks like he either died or used the mirror, him being at the start of the dungeon again.
I think he mirrored out, which is unfortunate because the end's right there.
He might have mirrored hoping to get some health back.
Half a heart. Oh, and he takes a death.
It is a right side big key. It could be in tile room. Clown Kefka. Quake was from the shovel dig spot, and the shovel was in Swamp Palace.
Tile room hype is still going. All you tile room fanatics, you.
20% chance. Oh my goodness, that throw with that Samaria. That was quite interesting.
Yeah, the dashing with Samaria is dashing into a block created by King of Samaria is fun, regardless.
I'll have to try that sometime. That is true. Suiko will not get the half magic at the ether tablet.
It's true. He's in go mode, so nothing really stopping him. Oh, and Sinhe. Uh-oh, still no big key.
It's tile room, folks.
Tile room green. Yeah, it looked like Sinhe didn't realize that getting that upper left-hand chest created all those holes. He looked a little confused as to what happened there. Toad Princess. This is an interesting tile room because you sometimes want to keep your sword out or swing away, but with those cannons that fire every time you swing a sword, this is a rough one.
Yeah, it makes the boomerang, gives it another use, as the boomerang won't trigger the fire shooters, but can still be used to break the tiles. And there we have the tile room big key. Although at this point, it would take Sinhe despawning Ganon's tower a few times and falling to Trolldorn for Suiko to catch up, which is unfortunate. But that is just how Randomizer goes.
It is unfortunate, but Sinhe's making his way up Ganon's tower right now with Red Mail, with Butter Sword. It's another point that I don't know if Suikoboj is going to get all the chests, all the armor upgrades that Sinhe did, because at least Red Mail was on the laser bridge, which was unnecessary. Suikoboj making quick work of Vitreous in the meantime.
As we see Sinhe about to start the gauntlet with half magic into Fire Rod, this shouldn't give him too much trouble.
Half magic, Fire Rod, Butter Sword, Red Shield, or Red mail. Yeah, this should go pretty quickly without too much trouble.
And silver arrows to boot. Ganon shouldn't be that difficult either. Plus, I believe Sinhe still has 1 or 2 blue potions in the rear.
That's right. I know Sinhe did make a quick stop. I don't know how many blue potions he ended up grabbing.
I believe Buttersword was somewhere in Ganon's tower.
I think it was Rainbow Room, if I remember right. Oh, Staphos Room? Okay. Suikoboj making the trek up Death Mountain. Still hasn't hit Turtle Rock yet. Meanwhile, Sinhe is in Ganon's tower, making quick work of the gauntlet.
I believe it was Trolldorm who gave Sinhe a little bit of trouble back in the Tower of Hera, so we'll see him get his redemption on the Ganon version.
Well, I think both runners each had a fall to Trolldorm. Suikoboj was a little bit more severe. It was in the middle section, but yeah, Trolldorm getting the best of both players today.
Bombos and Magic Powder, there aren't actually many places for them to be. It would have to be one of these 3 chests that Sinhe skipped, I believe. As our players, between the 2 of them, full cleared every dungeon, and they checked pretty much every item, I believe. So it would have to be one of those 3 chests that Sinhe just skipped. Although we'll see if he checks validation. We could have a validation powder.
Validation powder, that'd be interesting.
He's just gonna bomb the validation chest. Wouldn't it be funny if he bombed the validation bombos?
That's bad luck, I thought, bombing validation chest.
Turns out he's going to fall to Ganon 3 times.
Oh, that's falling to Ganon hype?
Not really sure who that hype is for. Suiko, Sinhe, or the runners? Or viewers?
Totally for the viewers. We're all a little bit devious like that. Sinhe getting 1 shot off on each Aghanim.
Yeah, this isn't being a very good Aghanim fight, and now the clones are getting slightly out of sync, but he does kill it, and he's moving on to the Ganon fight.
Up at 2:14:20. Moving on to Ganon. Finally getting Swag Duck in the Dark World. Or, you know, unexplainably able to use Swag Duck in the Dark World for once. Sinhe starts his Ganon fight while Suikoboj working his way through Turtle Rock.
Suikoboj is going to have to be careful. I don't believe he has any more potions.
Yep, going through and getting the 1 heart, because 1 heart helps a lot when you only have 1. Sinhe moving on to phase 3 pretty quickly.
Yes, those were a very good phases 1 and 2 of the fight. Although Ganon looks like he's not wanting to be hit very much in phase 3, teleporting all over the place.
No, Butter Sword tends to make quick work of the first couple phases. And gets the torch glitch, which is good news for Sinhe, bad news for Suikoboj, as Suikoboj takes a death, unfortunately.
That's even more bad news for Suikoboj, unfortunately, as he'll have to restart the entire dungeon, and Sinhe finishes the Ganon fight.
With an official time of 2 hours, 16:40. GG Sinhe. We'll see if he'll be available for an interview here. Meanwhile, Suikoboj going back through T-Rock with a little more health this time. It's unfortunate that they didn't find magic powder at some point in time, because this dungeon becomes much more safe with all these anti-fairies once you have magic powder.
Oh, definitely.
And another death from Suikoboj.
I mean, Turtle Rock is a dangerous dungeon. A lot of enemies do 4 hearts of damage to the green male. The floating skulls, the pokey enemies, the chain chomps. Very dangerous if you are underprepared or not careful enough.
Yep, the highest damage enemies in the game, I believe, are these chain chomps. It's just a rough place, especially when you get green male. Both males being in Turtle Rock was a little bit trolly, all things said.
I believe the chain chomps still only do 4 hearts of damage. Although, of course, a Ganon hug does far more than that.
Well, Ganon, yes.
Looks like Sinhe is in the waiting room. We'll get him in for an interview.
There's Sinhe. GG, Sinhe. How you doing?
GG indeed. Well, I'm not too happy about the result either here. Like, actually, Quake location threw me kinda off in the seat.
Yeah, you did Turtle Rock, and then you had to backtrack for that shovel, which was unfortunate.
Yeah, well, shit happens. I completely forgot about the shovel once I got it, because I was so focused on clearing dungeons first.
Well, we thought that the fire rod might have thrown you off a little bit, because you got the fire rod and the shovel kind of both in Swamp Palace, so part of us was like, you must be so excited for fire rod that you just kept going without checking that shovel spot.
Yeah, true. That was sort of the thing as well. I was kind of hoping for Quake to be also in Swamp Palace. I know, with Week 26, my lesson what I actually learned was that progressive items are more likely in pendant dungeons than anywhere else, and completely forgot whilst doing that the shovel as a, which ended up wasting about, I think, 20 minutes. Really terrible.
I wouldn't say wasted, because the time you still did things as you were going, so I'm not going to say that was wasted.
Yeah, you full cleared Turtle Rock, which was a dungeon you had to clear anyway, so most of the time loss, or potential time loss, would have come from just backtracking up Death Mountain and checking a few other spots, such as Pedestal and Skull Woods.
Yeah, exactly.
So help fill us in, Sinhe, because the restream didn't get started until about 15 minutes in, and we already saw, you guys had Lamp that was early. There were a few other things that went on. What was the first 15 minutes like? Help fill in some of the gaps we had.
The 50 minutes, well, there's not too much, or it hasn't been happening too much. I was basically checking the escape, ending up finding the lantern right next to the chest on the Uncle. Ice Rod and Mirror were in the back part of escape. And so basically just focusing on finishing Kakariko Village first, and then the escape. And then were the first 50 minutes for me.
What about the Moon Pearl? That's a big progression item that we hadn't realized you had when you went and did the Aghanim play.
Moon Pearl. Where was Moon Pearl? Was it the bottle vendor? I'm not really sure anymore. I think it was either the bottle when no, wait, it was in the well, in the chest in the behind the crackable wall.
Okay.
Yeah, I kind of had to backtrack there first because I didn't get any bombs, much less did I get the rupees for the bombs in the first place.
Well, we'll say all things considered, both your routing and Suikoboj's routings were very, very good routing, all things considered. The main difference between the two of you is it felt like you dove into Pod early. He put it off, and Pod had both Hookshot and Cane of Samaria. And that seemed to just give you a little bit of an edge. And other than not checking Shovel, your routing just, every time you needed an item, it just seemed to just drop right in your lap.
Yeah, they gave me so much confidence. In the end, as I said, Quake completely threw me off. And literally crushed my self-confidence right there.
Yeah, another big thing that gave you an advantage was your willingness to enter pendant dungeons, such as when you first got to the Village of Outcasts, Thieves Town, and Skull Woods. You entered them right away, and you got the hammer, and the ether, and a sword upgrade for your troubles. Or bottle, or something like that. And so that definitely gave you quite an edge.
Yeah, surely. I was planning that all along in my routing, since I learned from my last match. Actually, my routing was completely horrible there. So I wanted to route that in as soon as possible, even if I can only dig once in there. And I basically only finished Thieves Town because it was the green pendant. So maybe Sahashala could have had an item at that point.
Yeah, we had most of chat that was cheering on, hoping for that Quake pedestal hype. Not ended up being the case. I don't know what it is about when other people play, you want to see them suffer, but when you're doing it, you want the jet seat.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't want to see Quake on the pedestal either. I wouldn't mind if it were, then I just could go ahead and finish Skullwoods and directly head to the pedestal, since I had the other two pendants already.
Yeah, if it had been on pedestal, I think you would have had a much more significant advantage.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, Suikoboj did not clear any of the pendant dungeons. He took a dive. Oh wait, he did end up clearing Thieves Town. He did dive into Swamp, and made the smart play. He kept going to get the shovel, but then he mirrored out as soon as he had that shovel. So, tell me a little bit, because you lost your first match. Now you've won, so you're kind of back on even ground. Who's your next match against, and when are we looking forward to seeing you play again?
Probably against Dynasty Zero. It is my next match. Somewhere around the next weekend. Probably. I'm kind of looking forward to that. Honestly.
Yeah,
I had to win, actually. Like, for me, it was... I couldn't take the lose from the last match just because I had a technical issue before, and it kind of drove me mad after the race last time. So I absolutely wanted to win this match.
Well, you did with the official time looking pretty good, all things considered. Suikoboj just now getting into Ganon's Tower.
Yeah, and overall, considering the seed, Aghanim required, and all bunch of required items in all three pendant dungeons, this is a pretty decent time.
Yeah, well, it's okay for the time in the seed. Also, who put the big key in G Tower into the tile room? Screw you.
Everyone was calling it, yeah.
I wanted to go for the tile room first, but then decided to go for the left side first. Ended up doing right side, and eventually came to the tile room.
Yeah, I might have given you a bit of a commentator's curse. Sorry.
Oh, it's okay.
We can't take full credit for that, because most of chat was going for tile room just based on how trolly this seed had been. Just waiting on different things. Both armors being in Turtle Rock of all places.
Yeah, big chest that I think it was somewhere on the laser bridge, the second one.
Yeah, laser
Yeah.
bridge.
Yeah, well, in the end, at that point, the armors didn't really matter at all. But it's good to have them anyway. Save me some hearts, if I may say so.
Yeah, this was a pretty healthy seed, especially early on, which was pretty good and did help to offset the lack of mail.
Tell me about that Trolldorm fall.
The Trolldom fall. Oh, that was horrible. I don't know, I have my fair share of troubles with Modern 1 lately. Especially the one in Tower of Hera. I feel like I can't get used to the arena at all. But for some reason I always fall at Modern 1. And have absolutely no trouble with Modern 2.
Well, it's interesting you say that because I've commented, this is about, I think, my 4th commentary now. I don't think I've seen a seed yet where at least one person didn't fall once. Everyone seems to be having some trouble with Moldor for some reason.
Yeah, it's probably the worst boss in the entire game anyway. I won't blame people for falling at him. Even in Vanilla, A Link to the Past, he's kinda annoying.
Well, do you have any parting thoughts as we're finishing up? Suikoboj's still getting through Ganon's tower, but don't want to keep you if you have other things going on.
Actually no. I'm just gonna think about my routing a little bit, and that's probably all I'm going to be busy with tonight.
Well, like we said, other than that delay on the shovel, we thought your routing actually ended up being very good. So, good. GG against Sinhe, and we'll look forward on the next match there.
All right, GG.
Yeah, definite thanks for joining us for this race, and thanks also to the to my co-commentator and of course all the other people behind the scenes running this tournament.
Yeah, big up, guys. You are great.
Yeah, thank you, and everyone give Sinhe and Suikoboj a follow. Both of them are great. Our tracker, Sir Linkalot, Zertanul, our restreamer, my co-commentator, Kevin856, and myself, Vitasia. Looking forward to hearing from you guys again.
Now on Suikoboj's side, we see him heading off to the Ice Armos with an astounding number of arrows, 65. Unfortunately, Tylerum is continuing to troll.
Yep, and nothing. We know where it is, so will he stop for the tile room, or will he just keep going? Oh no, and he's gonna keep going.
I mean, it is a logical gamble. One chest versus a 4, 80% chance of the time you're gonna be right. But this happens to be the 20% that it's in tile room.
Oh no, and he's out of magic and can't finish this. Oh, poor Suikoboj. Gonna try to dig for some magic real quick.
If he's feeling like going for a little bit of adventure, there is that full magic refill at the Super Bunny Cave, which isn't that far from here, especially if he ends up taking such a long time to dig for magic like this. But it looks like he's going to enter Hera, maybe.
Well, we'll see. It's also possible that he'll mirror because he knows he's out of potions. If you're using safety strats, you might mirror over to the witch to fill up your pots anyway.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea.
Oh, I just got a Twitter update, unfortunately. Unrelated to Zelda, but I'm sad just reading this. Tom Petty has passed away from cardiac arrest.
Oh, well, rest in peace him.
Apparently, I'm the only one old enough to know who Tom Petty is. It's alright, Sir Link-a-Lot. We'll just be old together. Tell these kids to get off our lawn.
Yeah. I wasn't gonna mention it, but I have honestly no idea who that person is.
Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers.
Yeah, no, I'm one for Zelda, not all this other pop culture.
So you must have not gotten the joke the other night. I was asked not to make the joke again, referring to the Stump Kid as James K. Polk.
Yeah,
Because James K. Polk, our 11th president's nickname, was Young Hickory. Ba-dum-tsh.
Well, we have Suiko. He's going to make his second attempt at right side of G Tower. He'll pick up his big key in Tile Room eventually.
He'll get there. He may pass it up again. That's too bad we don't have a timer for Suikoboj anymore because they were both using Sinhe's timer.
Well, we will still have his final SRL time, fortunately, so we will get a time eventually.
According to the current race bot, we're at 2 hours, 33 minutes, 27 seconds. Luckily, I don't think we have anything scheduled on Randomizer Mania 2 directly after this.
No. Speaking of races, our next race is on Randomizer Mania 2 at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. And that's between Zertinal, our current restreamer, and Duke Firebird. So be sure to check that out in a few hours.
Over on the main schedule, we have right now going on over at Speed Gaming 2, Amazing M Forest versus Problems IRL. Later tonight at 10 o'clock Eastern, we have Feral Pigman versus Maximum Carnage.
And of course, we have plenty of more races coming up for the rest of the week, and through the rest of the month, finishing up with the various group and Swiss stages and moving on to the rest of the tournament.
And Suikoboj is about to be disappointed that nothing is here. We gotta mirror out, go to the tile room. Tile room trolls completely for everyone.
Yeah, this tile room is never a fun tile room. With everything in here going through your armor. Doesn't matter what mail you have, the anti-fairy and the tiles will still all do 1 heart. So, if you're not careful, you can definitely take a real beating.
Not to mention the wall master who's there that will just take you right back to the beginning of the dungeon and have to start this room over again.
Yeah, just bonk or getting hit at the wrong time could just stun you right into the waiting hand. Suikoboj heading up to the top of G Tower now. Again, with the astounding number of 65 arrows, that just shows just how much these players full cleared this seed. We saw Sinhe having, I believe, a 183-ish, or 185-ish for items cleared, and that's quite a lot of items.
It is. I think the only items they didn't get were bombos and magic powder. Just about.
Aside from missing a few heart pieces and heart containers. I believe the only items that they didn't get were Pedestal, which we know was Couch Cash, and the 4 items on top of Ganon's Tower. Aside from those, this seed was pretty much fully cleared.
Sinhe didn't pick up the bug net, but we do know that Suikoboj did.
Although I don't actually recall where.
Yeah, it was early. It was very early. Suikoboj, I think at this time knows that he's already lost the race, so he's just getting through, doing all the safety strats.
Getting some safety fairies is never a bad idea.
Quasim, to answer your question, Suikoboj's timer is off because they both were using Sinhe's timer when we set everything up. So it stopped when Sinhe was done.
Unfortunately, Suiko did not pick up the half magic, so he'll have to go through these rooms slightly slower, but still with the butter sword that will allow him to one-shot most of everything.
We'll see if we have time for a Suikoboj interview afterwards, where the most interesting thing I have to ask him, other than with the race, is how I actually pronounce his name.
I believe we'll probably have time for an interview, as the next race on Randomizer isn't for another 2 hours or so.
I believe it's an hour and a half, because the Zertnuel is at 6 Eastern, and it's 4:30 Eastern, so an hour and a half from now. Zertnuel, hope you're ready, buddy. You and Duke Firebird.
Half magic was at the Ether Tablet.
Zert, we know you don't need to practice.
Just replace Sinhe's feed with your own. Show the stream your amazing skills. Suiko running low on health, but fortunately he did pick up a pair of fairies, so he should be fine for the rest of the run.
Yep. Had to pick up the magic because he was worried he was going to run out of magic with this room.
Well, that's one chest that we know didn't have Quake or Powder. Oh, is Suiko? Oh, he needs that key, and he's also going to check this for another small key. Interesting to see a small key up here. So I believe that leaves by process of elimination pre- and post-Troll Dorm to be the Powder and Bombos respectively. That is true, the big chest we have not seen.
We didn't. That would have been... I've only seen one time where they were going through and trying to get... Oh, and a fall.
Troll Dorm still trolls you even after death. Hopefully we'll see Suiko validate his run.
And it's a heart. Oh, and that's a well-timed full health refill.
That was definitely a good validation check for Suiko. That heart piece, giving him that full heal.
Not quite the Zank heart, it was the quarter heart. It just happened to be the fourth quarter heart.
Suiko getting a nice double so far on this Aga fight.
Aga's still not cooperating in terms of where he's setting up.
He rarely does.
And it's off to Ganon. I love it. I love that picture.
It's quite interesting. Here we have the timely battle of Nintendo, the infamous Blue Mario versus Ganon. I mean, we've all heard of the Mario and Green Mario, but nobody ever hears of their third unknown brother Blue Mario, fighting off in Hyrule with Link.
Blue Mario, of course, coming from the long line of successful Marios. Just underappreciated in his time.
Gives a new meaning to a blue-collar worker.
Heyo!
Suiko unfortunately taken to death, but he does have plenty of arrows.
And a fairy.
And fairies. Fairies too. Arrows and fairies.
Opting to use his blue potion when he's down to one heart. Good call. Oh, don't fall down!
Oh, he manages to survive somehow.
Now, missed the torch glitch, but that's okay.
Yeah, torch glitch when you have silver's only convenience. Not at all something that is super important. Just one more hit and then he'll be finished.
getting a nice double hit there.
And Suiko getting his final hit. Finishing with an official SRL race time of 2 hours, 45 minutes, and 57 seconds. GG to him.
Indeed. GG, Suikoboj. Let's see if we can get him in for an interview. AGG Suikoboj. I hope I'm pronouncing your name right, because otherwise I've been mispronouncing it whole game. Suikoboj? AGG Suikoboj. I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. Can't hear you. Double check your mic if you could. Suikoboj?
Yeah, I can't hear you on my end either.
Can't hear you. Double check your mic if you could.
Yeah, I can't hear you on my end either.
How about now?
There
We
you
can hear
are.
you.
Okay, cool.
Well, that was kind of a rough ending for you. What's your first thoughts about that seed just right off the bat?
Why Aghanim won all the time?
Well, that was kind of
Yeah, it was it's never fun when Aga 1 is required, especially with a fighter sword. Not even Master
Yeah.
Sword.
Yeah, that was kind of rough with Fighter Sword Aghanim and me trying to go back to Eastern Palace for that no item. Instead of just going down to escape like I thought to do.
Well, all things considered, your routing was pretty good, and you made a play there towards the end that we thought, you were about a dungeon behind, and Sinhe took his sweet time getting Quake after the shovel from Swamp, and you made that play immediately. So we thought there for a while you were going to be able to jump in and just get right back into this race, but unfortunately, things didn't quite go your way there at the end.
Before I went down to Swamp, I almost went into Turtle Rock for Fire Rod.
Yeah, at that point, we were debating whether or not it was the right call or not, since you got the Quake medallion before Sinhe did. So
Yeah, I choked on a lot of things sadly toward the end.
But yeah, you did have some great routing, such as when you did go to a pod and get all those items there, Samaria, Hookshot, you only had to make one trip there, where Sinhe actually made 3 there.
Oh.
Yeah, I think the real turning point, unfortunately, was Sinhe made early dives into both Skull Woods and Thieves Town, which had some value items, including the sword, fire rod, things like that. Hammer, as I recall, in Skull Woods, and it just took you a little bit longer to dive there.
Yeah, I was
Do
trying to
you
get
normally
the routing done before I went in, hoping to find a sword or a mail upgrade. Or a fire rod even, so that way I can just clear out Skull Woods altogether.
Yeah, that is the unfortunate thing, where although Sinhe did have to triple dip pod, he did get that sword in pod earlier, so he was at Tempered Sword while you were only at Master.
Yeah. Overall I don't know, there was a lot of routing decisions that I thought could have been better on my end even. Zora being flippers kind of trolled me a little bit, already getting the boots beforehand.
Yeah, we saw that, and we were, it was unfortunate what happened there.
It's all right because both of you made the same call there. You both fake flippered up into the waterfall to get your boots, and then flippers were right there. So you both made the same call.
The only thing I wish I would have done before I went to Catfish was go down and get money, then just do Catfish, Zora, which I would have got flippers and the boots already. That would have been the only thing I probably would have changed with that.
Well, either way, we didn't. I don't know if I could do better in that seed myself. It was a rough. Any Aga required seed, vanilla flippers. It was just one of those seeds that I don't know if. I mean, it could have been a whole lot worse with everything going on. So GG to you, Suikoboj.
Oh yeah, the only thing that I wish I would have found the mail upgrade earlier. That's about it.
The last mail upgrade was actually on Laser Bridge, so both mail upgrades were in T-Rock.
I saw that. I knew once I had blue mail, I was good. I just really didn't want to go through with green. If I didn't get the blue upgrade, that would have probably went to Laser Bridge real quick and checked.
Well, GG to both you and Sinhe, and thanks for putting on this race.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And GG.
GG again to all of our racers. And again, going down the schedule, we'll have later on Randomizer Mania 2, Zertanul and Duke Firebird, our wonderful restreamer for this run. At 8 o'clock Eastern, we'll have Maniacal 42 against I Have No Name 248 on Randomizer 3. We have some other runs at 10 and 10:30. We're just going to keep on going strong. And then over on the main schedule, we do have Feral Pigman and Maximum Barnage on Speed Gaming 2 at 10 o'clock at night. So for all of us here at Speed Gaming and Randomizer Mania from the community, my name is Vitasia, my co-commentator, Kevin856.
And of course, our tracker, Sir Linkalot, and restreamer, Zertanul.
Thank you so much, everyone. Good looking out, and we'll see you in later matches.